Yeah, g'day everyone. It's Anthony here at Moose Marine, and let me just turn off this little heater because once again I'm in the back room, and the back room is quite cold. I'm in the back room because it's lockdown time, so hopefully those who watch this in the future can look back at these times and have a laugh, hopefully. Anyway, today what I wanted to show you, if I can get it in frame, might just tilt this camera up a little bit. Are the new Relaxn digital membrane touch control panels. I say new because this is a new version of one that's been around for some time. Now, a lot of people who saw these units when they first came out probably saw me do a video on it about 5-6 years ago. Back then they made a 6-gang panel, a 12-gang panel, and then they later released an 8-way panel. Now the 6 and 12 ways were a little bit problematic. They were connected to the control module via a ribbon cable, and that ribbon cable had some issues with it coming out. Hello to everyone watching. If you've got any comments, I can finally see them now. The 8-way panel that came out was a bit different. It was firmer, and it had larger backlit areas where icon stickers could be stuck, and it just looked a little bit professional. It also used a VGA style screw connector from the control panel to the module. So let's see what's different about this unit. So let's check it out. I'm excited because for a long time it was quite hard to get those other panels. They were kind of out of stock, and there was a few generic versions from other places like JCar and whatnot. But alright, shut up Anthony, let's have a play. So instruction manual, which goes in to explain obviously the terminals, your main DC power supply and negative supply, and where your USB connector goes and how to connect it. So I'm not going to bore you with all that, but on the back you can see there's a cutout. This is quite cool. To mount this you only require a very small cutout hole for a physical size, and then it adheres with a self-adhesive. Hello Colin. And bust it open. Now I must confess I have actually seen this design floating around some of the more other markets for a little while in various designs, but Relaxn and Sam Allen Wholesale have brought it to the marine market with a bit more marine specific little logos and things. So Relaxn, Justin, how are you? So Relaxn is an Australian company. It's kind of the home brand from a big Australian marine wholesaler called Sam Allen Wholesale, based up in Queensland. These units are no doubt made in China because, oh, there you go, made in Taiwan. I take it back. There you go, made in Taiwan. But let's check it out. So this is the panel, and if you remember the Cadbury chocolates, they were called Fairy Friends. That's about as thick. Get hell, mate. You can think of a better analogy. So that's about as thick as a furry friend from Cadbury. I wonder if Cadbury could send me some of those as a bit of a plug. Anyway, so we can see it's now a 10-way. So obviously they've looked at what they've had in the past. They've had a 6, they've had a 12, then they released an 8, and now this is a 10. There's also a 6-way version of this as well. 10's a good number. If you think about most trailer boats that are going to be using this from OEM or restorations, 6 sometimes wasn't enough, 12 is sometimes too much, and 8 sometimes was enough too. So if you think about this, we can have our anchor light, nav light, bilge pump, deck wash, aft facing floodlights, forward facing floodlights, interior cockpit lights, interior saloon lights, underwater lights, and a miscellaneous one maybe for live well. So that's plenty, and of course you can always buy more of these panels. But the big thing about these switch systems is that it allows you to keep things quite neat and the installation quite simple. So when you're doing your dash layout, you can mount this guy, which is just a peel and stick sort of job. You can see it's got a micro USB, and I'll talk about that in a second. To your dash, behind your dash you can then mount the power distribution box, which is this guy, in a convenient location. That keeps all your cable routing looking really nice and neat. and then behind your dash doesn't look so spaghetti. So this is the new control module box, and there's not really much to say. It's a control module box, but you can see you got your 10 spade terminals all along here. Now, one of the things that is interesting about this newer model is that every one of these is programmable to be a momentary switch or a toggle on-off. So in the past, you could only do that to one of them, for a horn, for example, or a windscreen wiper. But on this, you can have multiple. So let's say on some larger boats, you might have an air horn for alerting. You also might have winch up, winch down. So that's pretty cool that you can probably imagine two of these next to each other on some larger outfits. And they look quite good. I'm actually considering the idea of what these would look like recessed into an acrylic dash, sort of really flush mount, keeping it all really sexy. The only thing that's a bit funky is that it's just a sticker. But anyway, so you have your DC positive in, which is a screw connector, and then negative. Of course, the negative for this is pretty much just to give negative supply to the backlights. You can see here that there's a little switch up here for the backlight illumination. That's quite cool. You get some, obviously, mounting hardware. So you get a DC positive terminal cover, your negative crimp, all of which you're probably going to lose, and you probably just do it yourself with whatever you use. You got a non-UV stabilize. Oh, I'm so critical. What's the word I'm looking for? What are these things called again? Cable ties. God, isolation, eh? And you got some mounting screws. You can see in the stickers, you have both icon and you have words. And they are just stickers. They're not sort of fancy pants, hard laser edge plastic ones or anything. I suppose you could do that if you really wanted to. But the idea is that so light can shine through them. Speaking of which, I probably shouldn't rotate it. So for those who like icons, you can. And for those who like words, you can too. I would like a few more on this. I feel like this isn't quite enough, but it's a pretty good start for most boats. All right, let me show you how they connect. This is my only criticism so far. It connects via a USB connector. Interestingly, in the, maybe Sam Allen can tell me about this later, in the connection, oh no, my bad, I thought that was a RJ43 or something, but it is a USB. So you got about a meter, probably not even that, probably got about 500 mil. Maybe a meter, 600 mil, I'll look it up later, to connect from this module, which is your USB, a little bit snug, and it has a little cable route, so it keeps it taut. Sorry for the camera falling away. And so that goes in there, and then obviously up here, connects into the back of that. My gripe is I don't know how waterproof that or that would be. So my recommendation for the DIYers and all that there is make yourself kind of friendly with some silicone just around the outside. After you tested it first, make sure it works. But there you go. It is 1 meter long, that cable, just read in the box. So hopefully if you've got any questions, you can pop them in the little questiony thing down below. Not really much I suppose to it other than that. It's a nice piece of kit. It's a really cool, yeah, I agree, Peter. Obviously like this system, and I've seen from the manufacturers and on various B2B websites and things this kit before. I've seen it in a 6-way and a few others designed for like machinery and 4-wheel drives, etc. And there's a lot of markets where that doesn't really matter. Obviously, if you're not going near water, especially salt water, who cares? But obviously in our industry and hobby, we do care. So it'd be nice to see some improvement to that at some point. I'm not holding my breath. I'm not saying Sam Allen's brought out a shit product, because I understand that they've just sourced this and marketed it a little bit. So, you know, good on them for actually bringing it. I've got it upside down, by the way. It goes this way. I should say that there's a little red indicator when activated, and that's the backlit panel. Yeah, look, I'm not going to criticize any of those things too much because when you look at the price of this system, it's about 200 and I'll probably correct myself later, but about $260 for this 10-way, and then there's a 6-way version, obviously. And when you think about how much digital switching systems can cost, and I do a fair few of them, both in C-Zone and Blink and a Empire Bus and a few others, this is more than a third of the price. You know, it's very, very cheap. It is a cheaper system. Obviously, it doesn't have an IMA 2000 or any of those smarts. You can't do programming on these, for example. Yeah, Branko makes a good point. You probably wouldn't want to rely on your really important stuff. These, thank you for letting me know. I shouldn't talk about that. This is a maximum of 10 amp per circuit. So you obviously got a limited amount. There's a maximum of 60 amps for the whole thing. So you're talking about lights, small pumps, that sort of stuff. They're heat resettable circuit breakers, PPTCs. So you can't take this apart and change a fuse. You have to wait for the system to close itself again and find the fault, and away you go. So certainly for things that you want to depend on being able to get access to and change, you'd probably stick to and you would have one anyway because you'd have one for your sounders and blah, blah, blah. You would have your distribution circuit breaker panel or your fuse panel. But I'll tell you what, it's actually good size because this box here is very similar size to a Blue Seas or a Nava 12-way fuse panel. So you could mount that next to your 12-way supply and have all your DC circuits in one area, and it would be really neat. So there you go. I just got some spam email from Kogan. Thanks, Kogan. So if you have any questions and you'd like to know a little bit more about this new system being introduced by Sam Allen, feel free to shoot us an email at info@moosemarine.com.au. You can obviously message. You can see that there already. You can give us a call on 0411 816 660. I obviously don't have any of these on display in the showroom because the showroom is closed at the moment, but we will have them on display because I think for a DIY system, they're not bad. And obviously, Sam Allen have learned over the years and the not mistakes, but the issues that arose with the first couple of batches a much, much better product. So I'm sure a lot of boat builders are pretty keen to get their hands on these, and they probably already have in some instances, and maybe some boat builders might take a chance to look at these. But I think as a wiring solution, they're very neat. I think as an installation, they're going to cut down on a shitload of time. Like I said, you just got one little hole, and as long as you make sure your lines are straight, it's pretty cool. So there you go, everybody. Thanks very much for watching. If you have any questions, you know where we are. Leave that there. Stay safe. See you later. Bye.